It's,
Brian, can you hear me?
Are you asking me?
It shows up as Brian, but it's actually Brian's wife that's on. So we don't have Brian
And he's on his way.
yet. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes.
I see him down the hallway.
And we're expecting Valerie,
Okay,
and she's to manage the Zoom. So,
got it. So no Susan, no Anita.
let me
Hey,
get.
Brian. Hello, Mark.
no season, no Anita. Yeah.
The people we know who are not coming are Susan, Anita, and Eugene.
Okay.
I don't believe I've heard from Bo, and Valerie should be on the way, so that accounts for everybody.
Yeah, so you're going to be thin on the quorum tonight.
Can you see who's on the attendee list where you are?
I see Valerie coming down the hall too. So, all right.
Here's a 3-ring binder for you.
Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Um, Mark,
Yes, sir.
well, when Valerie needs to be made the
Oh, for sure.
There she
Well, I could give Valerie the controls, or when you log into your computer, we can make you a co-chair, whichever you prefer.
It's just one of those days. Hopefully it'll log me on. Okay.
Albert, can you mute? You're somehow popping into the screen from time to time.
like that.
And can you mute your microphone?
I can mute.
You're just cutting into the screen from time to time, and you don't
Yeah,
mean
I
to.
was doing that deliberately.
Any noise on the
So
table.
you don't have to look at me all the time.
Okay, I should be ready. I'm ready for my promotion. Oh, how exciting.
Okay, Valerie, do you see any members on?
Yes, so let's see. I have this spreadsheet you emailed me.
Promote anybody while we're waiting.
So we want to promote
Washington Place is first.
122. So David Erickson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two David Ericksons.
Yeah, so maybe both of them. Yeah, and then Tracy Dove.
And do you see them as present?
Yep, and I see the applicant for the second application on, so we'll be ready.
I think the second David Erickson is actually.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Do you see Valerie Andy Diaz?
I don't see Andy,
okay.
but I'll keep an eye out for
There's
him.
confusion about whether he'll be here, and
Sure.
he got a last minute invitation, so whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
If you happen to see him, upgrade him.
Sure.
Okay.
So you got that, and you got that.
We'll begin now. This is the Community Board 2 Landmarks Committee meeting for August 2024, and there is only one meeting this month. We do not have a quorum. when we don't have a quorum, we hear the applications and the board assumes the responsibility for putting them forward. Our first application is 122 Washington Place to install stoop gate at the front of the property and repaint the front door in a darker color. When you're ready, please share your screen and begin.
Okay. Let me pull this up. I'm David Erickson. I have a lot of screens. Here we go.
If it's more people that aren't that need to speak, then let Valerie know and she'll organize.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I have my client in the
have you
homeowner,
been here
Tracy.
before? Have you presented before to the?
No, I have not. Not.
It's very simple. Make the presentation. We have questions from the committee, and then if there are members of the public or others who wish to comment, they'll do so, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll make the resolution commenting on what you've done, what you've presented.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me just blow this up slightly. Come on, Zoom. Okay. Do you see my screen?
We do.
Okay, so our application is a response to some security concerns, and we're in the Greenwich Village Historic District on Washington Place, located the house on these maps. One thing that we've done in preparation for this meeting is, we went around the neighborhood and just looked for existing precedents, and then afterwards went through the landmarks committee approved stoop gates. And so our first step was just going around the neighborhood and finding stoop gates along the active thoroughfares that feed off of Washington Square Park and head into the West Village. Noting.
And you can be brief in this part because we've been familiar with this.
Okay, great. Yeah, so there are plenty of stoop gates. And of these, some of them have been approved by Landmarks Committee, but we've noticed there are a few on Washington Place and also on Waverly Place. They're documented here, noting the stoop gates along these thoroughfares that feed off of Washington Square Park.
I'm getting two black rectangles over your presentation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me try this again.
But that one left.
Let's see. Maybe there's a way I can do this is there a way to make this bigger? Oh, are you seeing my tools?
Yeah, maybe that's.
Okay. Let's do a different view. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay, it's up at the top, so we'll manage now. Thanks.
Okay. So here are the stoop gates in the immediate vicinity that we studied. And then we were reviewing past landmarks approvals and noticed the gates that have been approved in the neighborhood from past presentations, which are listed here. Our project is right here in this little circle.
Like a black box.
Do you still see the black box?
Way at the top.
It's way at the top, so it's fine on this slide. I don't know.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out what this black box is.
It's gone.
Okay, it's gone.
Okay, so the approved stoop gates that we found in the past presentations. And then it brings us to our project which is this, it's a late federal, early Greek revival style townhome. And you can see here the porch stoop and the steps going up to the front door. Here's an older picture from the 40s when the house was converted into multiple units, and it was since converted back in the early 2000s. And going to next, our existing conditions here, just showing that there are simple window boxes, existing wrought iron fence work protecting the garden level, and then the existing newel post and steps going up to the front door with columns and this transom. And so what we're proposing to do is to add a stoop gate that attaches itself to the back of the newel post, recessed as far back as we can from the street, to address some security concerns that we've encountered since starting the project. And then also proposing just painting the front door a darker color to bring one extra accent color to the project. We want to keep all the window bodies the off-white that we have and all those details, but to differentiate the front door from the stoop and from all the trim colors. And so here's an up-close view showing the existing stoop, and then the stoop gate that we want to add attaching to the post, recessed and starting at the second step. And then also in this slide, you can see we wanted to use this ferro and ball off black exterior color for the door. This is a color that we also use on the inside of the house. But we're looking at these late federal, early Greek revival houses often had a dark color associated with the shutters. And we were thinking maybe that contrast would be nice on the body of the door. This proposed elevation shows, it's a little blurry here, so I have a zoomed up position. The language of this gate is borrowing from the language of the fence and wrought iron work next to it, where we're trying to make a simplified version of the existing finials on the adjacent fence with a 5/8 inch diameter solid round picket. We want to have a very light, delicate 3/4 inch steel frame, a wrought iron frame, and we want these iron hinges mounted to the wrought iron posts that already exist, but we want to recess this gate so it sits right behind the post. And then we just want to do a welded in keyed gate lock that just is dark and recesses in with the gate frame. And we're borrowing these little intermediate members at the bottom of the gate to match those of the existing adjacent fence, which this is blurry now, so I don't think it will show up, but which I'll pull it up on the photo. Apologies. You can see them down here below these intermediate members. So we wanted to feel as close as we can to the original wrought iron work, but just slightly simplified.
So what you're saying is you're copying the areaway fencing into
Yes.
the gate.
Yes, and we're
Okay.
trying to, we want to be as differential to the existing language of the building as possible. And really this is all stemming from some security issues that we've had at the house since our clients took over and moved in. And I have Tracy Dubb here, and she can speak to her experiences at the house and entering and leaving the house in the thoroughfare from Washington Square Park.
Yeah. Well, you see from the examples, we've had numerous applications that were approved here, and it's well documented. So we will take the security concerns just on the face of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you completed?
Yeah, and that's
Is this a manually operated gate or does it close automatically?
yeah. We'll put an automatic closer on the back, I think, just for safety.
Okay.
Could I ask?
Okay. Are there questions from the committee members?
Go ahead, Albert.
Yes. Just curious, the houses on both sides of you, the structures on both sides of you, do they both have fences or do they not have fences?
We have fences, and the property on the left they have a ground floor entry, but they have a stoop gate. I mean, they have a gate to their entry.
There is a gate.
But they have
There's a gate on one side of you
Yes.
and not on the other.
The other is not currently occupied. It was sold recently, but there's not a fence there. Gate rather.
And the door color, is that, are there other doors?
Yes, four doors down, there is a dark door on the street.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other questions?
Yes, how wide is the stoop?
Stoop is the gate itself is 4 feet 6 inches. But the stoop itself is closer to 6.
And how far out into the sidewalk pathway for pedestrians does the gate swing into?
Let me tell you that real quick. Let me pull that up. Total, the front of the post of our existing stoop comes out 2 feet 8 inches, but when the gate is fully open, it essentially will be, oh, here we go, 2'3". When the gate is open temporarily, because of the closers, we will be out 3 feet 9 inches.
Does anyone
compute? 3 feet 9 inches?
That's basically from where the gate here. Let me show this on the annotation tool.
Okay. If we're finished with the presentation, could we get the screen back? To be clear about.
Do you want me to, you want me to pull this back up?
Just dispose of, you can, do we need this for reference?
Oh, apologies, yeah.
Are there any more questions from the committee?
I have one. Initially, I would say until I got to page 9, it was hard to picture or even think of the gate starting at the second step. But now I see with the way that column or half column treatment is there, that seems to make that makes a lot more logical sense. Is there a wide gap underneath there? I know with the perspective, it's hard to tell underneath the gate.
We have a small gap. I mean, it's more in the order of like, I mean, we're looking for like an inch.
Okay.
Inch and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Valerie, do you have anyone else who wishes to speak?
I have no one in the room that wishes to speak, but if anyone online wishes to speak on this, they should raise their hands.
I just wanted to say very quickly, the homeowner, you know, we didn't move in intending to apply for a gate, but as you guys are probably well aware, it's just been very hard. And I have 2 small kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the stuff left behind on the steps or people's steps is just become really hard to manage. So, you know, a gate is not going to solve all the problems, but I think it would be a really big help from everything from like opening the door to people being there to, you know, last week it was cracked up. It was broken crack needles and, you know, dirty needles left behind. So, you know, it's not ideal, but it would really be a big help to our family.
We fully understand.
Yeah.
And this block in particular,
yeah,
more travel than most people think.
I look forward to the day that we could take the gate down. Trust me.
Thank you.
All right.
Are there other questions, comments?
Not in the room. Online, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to the other application. Valerie, if you can rearrange, please, the
Sure.
applicant.
Thank you, David and Tracy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
The application.
Chanel, do you want to let them know
I'm
that
sorry,
we're
are
gonna?
we not finished?
No, we're finished. I just didn't know, since David had mentioned that I hadn't presented before, that I didn't know if you had gone through that. We're going to hear a second application, then we'll have our business session where we'll make our vote on the application. Just so you guys know, you're welcome to stay on and watch, or not, but we are going to move you back to attendees.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Hey, can we get rid of this the screen share? Good.
Oh, and Bo's here.
This is now we have 803 Greenwich Street.
Yep.
If in case anyone's looking at old copies of this, it was at one point mistakenly listed as Washington Street, but it is Greenwich Street. The application is to reconfigure the front facade ground floor with a central garage entrance flanked by two doorways, install 1/1 windows, lentils, paint the doors, window and cornice black, install large windows at the rear facade ground and second floors, install a balcony at the second floor, paint the ground and second floor black, and install a paved gardens and planters. Is the applicant on?
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah. Well, we understand if you would just be clear about what parts of this you understand are to be approved or are be considered, I should say, by the staff, then we'll be clear in the resolution about what's what. If you could just enumerate those first.
So there's two items.
Or tell us the ones that you have before us.
So at the front of the building, we're requesting permission to brownstone the base of the building, the columns and piers. And at the rear of the building, we're requesting permission to alter the masonry openings and install a black fiber cement frame.
I'm sorry, could you speak just a little louder?
At the rear of the building, we're proposing to install a black fiber cement border element around the second and third floors. So it's only those two issues, and I can once we get to this slide, I can be more specific.
Yeah, I just want to be able to know what's what as we go, and then what on the front facade.
On the front facade, at the ground floor, we're requesting permission to brownstone the piers at the front facade, to add a brownstone coating.
It's stucco to represent. Do we produce?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you can begin, please. Well, we need to hear everything because we often comment on the parts that are presumed staff, and it helps us with the context of what we're considering.
Sure, no problem. Okay,
Chanel, I'm sorry. We are going to hear the entire presentation, not just for those.
He's going to go through everything.
The two items that we are to consider.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at everything else.
That will be clear, I'm sure, as we go. Okay.
Okay, so this is
now, will it be possible to ask them to come back with the rest of the presentation?
No. It's that certain parts of it are for staff consideration.
Everything except the surround on the ground floor and the windows on the third floor, correct?
Right. Well, will be clear as he goes. He's going to specify which things are which. So I think we'll know better.
Okay.
Okay. Begin, please.
This is the existing, this is 803 Greenwich, the existing front facade photo. Sorry, I'm having a little computer issue. Okay. It's located in the Greenwich Village Historic District. Here is the site. It's on Greenwich Street between Jane Street and West 12th Street. This is the historic tax photo. And this is a historic elevation that I uncovered during my research. You could see it's two swing doors with a central garage door divided by two piers. So this is the proposed garage door front elevation. The doors themselves were a staff level approval. So what we really are here is for the cladding of these four piers to be able to provide a stucco brownstone coating to those piers. Historically, those piers are brick, but if you can see from the existing conditions here, the brick piers were covered with stucco, and it's very difficult to remove this stucco without damaging the underlying brick. So it's very difficult to restore these existing piers to brick. So we think it's an appropriate way is to instead clad them with a stucco brownstone finish. And I'll go through some examples in the district where that's common. Other things that are staff level approval that we're doing as part of this present restoration is removing the paint from the masonry, repairing the sills and headers, and repairing the cornice. But that's staff level. And this is the existing photos with the existing technical drawings and elevations. So throughout the district of commercial buildings, similar age and style, there's many examples of brick building with a brownstone base. Here are some addresses. And then here's a few more examples in the district. And then a few more. So it's a very common phenomenon throughout the district. At the rear of the building, because of the layout of the third floor, we would like to change the orientation of these three windows to two windows. And because this building, the way we're filing it, it has to comply with the most recent code. We have to put in a structural moment frame at the rear of the building, which creates I'll just skip ahead for a second. It creates a structural moment frame I-beams that's in line with the masonry. And for that reason, there has to be a protrusion from the existing wall to cover, to create the waterproofing and insulation that we need to cover this moment frame. So we would like to propose a fiber cement panel that would be painted black to create a frame that covers the structural frame that we need to install in this building for DOB code. And then the last component of this rear facade is a small balcony here coming off the third floor. It's about 18 inches deep. And that's for privacy. This will get planted, and the plants would serve as a privacy screen for the bedroom windows. So again, this is the elevation and the existing photo. This is that structural detail that's creating the need for a frame element around the second floor. And this is a block aerial view just to kind of demonstrate that this particular site is located in a very unique block, and that rear facade is not visible at all from a public thoroughfare. And there isn't really a pristine donut condition to preserve. It's a kind of a short block with unique rear yard conditions. Thank you for your time.
The balcony I had thought was to be considered. Is that not the case?
It is, yes. The balcony is part of the presentation.
And
yes.
it's metal painted black.
Yes.
In the front of, if you go back to that rendering, is there detailing in the garage door?
Yeah, so the garage door is a staff level item, and the profiles and shop drawings will be reviewed with a staff member to make sure the proportions are appropriate.
Okay. So what we have is the piers, the rear covering for the frame, and the balcony.
And the alteration of the masonry windows from 2 to 3 on
Oh yes, I'm combine that in with the other. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Are there other questions or anything that needs to be
Bo
added?
has his hand raised.
Hi, Bernard, I'm just wondering if it's a color, but on the front facade, the applicant referenced 3 piers. I mean, 4 piers, and to me, the old one only looks like 3, but it may be that
No, there's a fourth one to the right. I think that's the one. It blends with the building next door. Perhaps that's why.
Well, no. If you look at it on the left, just look starting on that. Go ahead.
We're going to be
The applicant will explain it then.
Yeah, we're going to be adding a new pier here to
Could you highlight with your pointer the 4 piers?
Sure. So we're going to be actually adding a new pier here to restore the historic condition. And so that would be the 4th pier here.
And so the other thing I want to ask is, it looks to me like the garage door is wider than the original, look like two doors. Is that
So
right?
this is the drawing that we've been using as our reference from when the building was built. So it's proportional to this drawing here, which was the historic blueprint for the building.
So the garage door is not wider than the original.
No.
Okay.
Are there other questions?
Yes, so I'm.
Who's speaking? I can't hear well. Who's speaking?
Okay.
It's Brian.
All right, it's Brian Paved.
Oh.
I'm disturbed by what looks like in your elevations of the front that the proportions are totally. I'm hearing a background noise.
Oh, we have other committee questions. If we could just wait a moment.
He's on the committee.
I beg your pardon?
I said it's Brian. He's on the committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. The sound is just terrible tonight for some reason. Yes, Brian, carry on. Sorry. You're back on the committee.
Yeah, visually, I'm very disturbed by the fact that it doesn't look like it's balanced on the facade, that the left door is bigger than the left door is bigger than the right door. And since there is no pilaster in the wall, if I understand you correctly, and we're trying to recreate a balanced facade, it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, so we're really following the historic documents. So here you can see that the left door is 3'6" and the right door is 2'10". So there is a historic unbalance that we're, to be true to the original design, we're recreating that.
Well, Ilya, is that the original construction drawings for the original townhouse?
It is.
That's not a modification that occurred when it was converted to some industrial use?
I would have to get back to you on that, but this is 1927. It may have been.
Yeah, that was built before that, I'm sure.
But even from the historic photos, I mean, it's hard to tell. But short of any other documents, I think we're just, this is the kind of our guidepost, this document here. And programmatically, it works for the building where the main entrance is located here, and this is more of a secondary entrance in the plan.
Yeah, I just would not consider it to be original to the building, and it's all previous to designation anyway. And, you know, it's just got a real cattywampus look to it, and it's just very off-putting. And then on the back, the rear elevation and the facade, can you show a detailed section of the balconies?
Is this the drawing, or would you like the elevation?
Vertical section through the building wall.
I unfortunately I don't have that plan here with me.
Then do you have a plan that shows how far out it projects and what's on the balcony and all that sort of thing?
So it projects to this dashed line, which is about 18 inches. And the balcony will have a black metal railing and a planter on it. And this planter will be infilled with plants to create privacy for the bedrooms here. Because as you can see, this building is in a very public location where there's a few tenement style buildings with sight lines directly to the rear of the building. So we're just trying to provide a little bit of privacy for the bedroom portion of this facade.
All right, so is the top floor fire escape required by code?
The fire escape is actually being removed here.
Removed.
Beg your pardon?
The fire escape is being removed. Right now it's a 3-family building.
So I said the top floor balcony, it's still in your proposed rendering.
So this is just a photo montage over an existing photo, but if I go to my elevations, you'll see that it's no longer part of the scope here.
Thank you. That's all I have.
To the original, the designation photo and another photo considerably earlier show that it was a carting company there and a very wide door, maybe 2 carts. Do you know when that was converted to what appears to be residential?
Unfortunately, I don't.
After the landmark designation in '69.
The building itself?
I'm talking about the ground floor, which is our responsibility.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
When was it converted? I believe the next iteration is residential with a smaller, considerably smaller door than in the designation photo and in an earlier one from the 40s, I believe.
Yeah, this drawing dates to 1921, and it shows kind of the proposed condition in 1921.
Oh, that's long before designation, yes. And unfortunately, I can't read it.
Easy.
So Landmarks did obviously approve the zoning change.
Yeah, they're approving the change of use. They actually approved
Yes.
the installation of the pier. We're just here trying to get permission to clad the pier
Right.
in a brownstone finish.
All right, okay.
Valerie, I have a question when everyone else is.
Oh, so
Bo still has one. I have one as well.
oh, you want me to go?
Sure.
Yeah, well, can we go back to the front elevation again? What I'm bothered by is, I mean, this is my own prejudice. I look at the old photo and I find that interesting. I understand you have your uses in mind, and apparently your the new proposal, serves that function. But it seems to me you could do that without coming up with, you haven't referenced the original, I don't think, the original look of this facade with your proposal. It's very banal and modern and not at all interesting. And I think it could be. I mean, just because it's new doesn't mean it has to be boring. I think you could do a little more with that. I'm just not happy with what you're producing there. And I think you could accomplish your purpose with something that looks a little better and a little more uh references the old building a little bit better.
I mean, we really have been using historic documents to create this design. There's nothing here that's not informed by history. We've either been pulling information from this historic drawing from the 1920s, and we've been pulling information from a damaged 1940s tax photo of what the garage door used to look like. So there's really no artistic liberties being taken here. We're using historic documentation as much as possible.
Well, I mean, I, I I don't accept that. I mean, you just look at it. I don't disagree that you're probably using the historic, uh, you know, the dimensions and all of that as you find them, and that's fine. But you look at them side by side, and they look like they're on another planet. I mean, how could you not agree with that?
I mean, maybe it's just the quality of the rendering that you're responding to, but at the end of the day, there's going to be more three-dimensionality in this door, and it's going to match, the profiles that are found in the existing garage door.
We've had a clear explanation of this, so we can consider it in the business session.
Okay, all right,
Think
fine,
about it.
fine.
Excuse me. Has the Landmarks staff already approved this, or are you going to present this to the commission? Where are you in the process?
This application is actually an amendment from a staff level approval that already has been given. So everything that you see for the front facade has been approved, except for the brownstone coating on these piers. So the door has been approved, the pier has been approved, these doors have been approved. It's really just a question of the coating on the piers that we're here to discuss today.
Okay, and we'll make an appropriate resolution to deal with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
I have a question about the back, if we could go to that drawing. It's the question of the huge expanse of black that doesn't seem to have any reference to anything.
Like it's heavier?
So, something's cutting in.
If I maybe I can just add another image. 1 second.
That's not part of the application.
Okay, I'm looking at the drawings, and my question is about the appropriateness and any sort of historic anything about the black cladding. I understand what it's doing, but I don't understand the material.
The material is it's a fiber cement board.
No, I know what it is. I'm saying the fact that there's nothing historic about what we see here.
Correct. And partly what's driving the frame here is the fact that this building, it's because of the amount of work that we're performing, our structural system has to conform to that of a new building, which means that we need to install a moment frame structural system that helps the building with lateral support.
Oh, wow, but all that was clear from the presentation. The question is what it looks like.
Correct.
It's a big black two-story
So
back building
the,
that has
yeah.
no reference to any to the building itself or to any historic kind of anything. It's a question of the material or the color actually.
The other thing that is not kind of illustrated here is that there's a staff level approval pending for painting this brick. So
we're talking about the black addition.
Correct. So this is the finished product after this brick gets painted. And you know, I chose to kind of include this image just because I wanted everybody to focus on the item that we're discussing, but maybe it helps to look at it in context with the final painted masonry. So, but yeah, it's been, this was
why the black is appropriate.
It's meant to reference a bay window that projects from typical brownstones of this age. And it's
Sorry, I don't think you understand the question is why is it black in color?
That, I mean, that's a color we thought was a nice design element for matching the windows and a strong central feature of the rear facade.
Okay, but that's the fine answer. Thank you. Are there other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one. I've been waiting. On page 7, with the side by side of the front facade, or it's my page 7. Yeah. Am I reading it wrong in terms of the scale of the top? Like it looks, when I look at the drawings, there seems to be no change to the top of the building, but one reads a lot heavier, even though the space looks the same. Is it just, what's up? What's going on there?
There's no change. It's probably just the way the camera and the rendering is set up. It's, you know, you're trying to drop a computer image in a photo. Sometimes it doesn't go.
It just looks a lot heavier at the top with the black.
Yeah. The cornice is not going to be as big as it is probably rendered. We're going to just be repairing the existing cornice. It's not, there's no new cornice.
Okay, how do we stand, Valerie?
Is there anyone from the public? And I don't know if Bo still has his hand up from before or if he is. We have 2 from the public, but Bo, did you have another?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm sorry. I'll
okay,
take it.
that's all right. So you have we have Dina Tassie Winter, and then Ann Mitchell Tree.
Okay, Dina was here from first.
Hi, this is Dina Tasswinter from Village Preservation. I just, I had looked up the original construction date of the building, which is 1858. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody had that in case, because I know there's some conversation about, you know, what was the original facade here. And I understand also that most of this was already approved at staff level. So maybe doesn't matter either way, but 1858 is the year. That's all.
Thank you.
Dana, please stay for the end of the business session because it's something I want to.
Yes, I'll stay and listen. Thank you.
And then Ann Mitchell Tree.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, could we go back to the picture of the back when it has been painted, fully painted? Yeah. From where I am, can I enlarge? Can I see that? I hope you'll forgive me, but the first thing that comes to my mind, I can't prove it, it's just an intuitive, that looks like a Japanese restaurant. it looks Asian. And I don't know why I say that, but it just doesn't look colonial, farmhouse, horse. That to me, I would say, oh, I would like the sukiyaki and the tempura. That just looks Japanese to me, including the chairs that are sitting out on front, the slatted wooden table. And that's fine. I don't know if you can have that in the back. My other question was, what about the lights? Did Landmarks approve the lights in the back and in the lights in the front? There were some lanterns or something.
Yes, the lights are not a public hearing item.
Okay, forgive me. I'll just say that it's obviously that's not. I know country, I know colonial, and that just isn't it.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Any more, Valerie?
Nope. That's it.
Okay, if that's it, could we move back to the room and have the business session?
Okay.
I'm sorry, the sound is just strange. You sounded like a member of the public who speaks frequently, Brian.
Oh.
Let's do the first one first. Is there objection to the gate?
Well, generally speaking, I would say I object to gates on stoops.
Right.
I do.
And we're stuck with them. So you don't vote against the resolution to approve it, I assume. That's now we have clear what's before us. I know that we want to deal with other things, but let's deal with these specific things, and then separately we'll comment on. It's just seems to me impossible that so much of this has been approved by staff, which is not the fault of the applicant, but it's just far reaching beyond what was ever envisioned for staff to do. So therefore, the covering of the pier in stucco to represent brownstone, is that any objection to that?
If we are limited to that wording and that sort of a vote, I don't have an objection. But I agree we should be opining on everything else.
Right. Yeah, we'll come to that. We just, the ones that have been sent to us we'll do first. The window.
No objection, because it is in conformity with the rest of the facade.
Okay.
Be nice if the whole thing were brick, but
then the first and second floor windows in the back.
Well, I think that the difficulty is that it's not viewable from the public right away, and that's the usual criteria. And we generally are therefore allowing a lot more leeway for something that's invisible to the public.
And on these two floors.
Even though, well, I think that we might all agree that it seems very modern, very, very stark, and very suburban, but it's a hidden factor, I guess.
Okay, and the balcony.
Same thing there. At least the top floor windows are retained, and so that's usually what we ask for.
Yes, and so the part that's been put to us we approve. The next one, we've had this once or twice before, but not on this scale of commenting, usually with our view that there's been overreach on the part of the staff, not in what they've decided, but in what they have considered. And I would like to enumerate those. To my mind, the first one is the design of the front. They've shown from that drawing that they've copied at least the plan of it. Do we agree that's something we would have preferred come before us?
Are you going to make a list?
The ground floor front facade.
Chanel, are you making a list of the things that we would consider that they have already decided?
This is going to be things we object to not having come before us.
Yes.
Ground floor front.
Well, it's virtually the entire ground floor.
Yeah, but we'll do front and back.
Street facade.
Are there other things on the front? That includes a lot. And it includes all the things I believe came up in the discussion.
I mean, the cornice looked heavily exaggerated in the rendering, but from the drawings and from his testimony, it appears that's not changing besides the color. So,
well, the renderings are so often a miss. I think it's clear that if they're not going to touch it, they're not going to touch it. So,
yeah.
At the rear, we've considered the balcony and the windows. There is the structural framing, I believe it's called.
Well, Chanel, you made a good point in the presentation that the material on the facade is a foreign material, foreign to the neighborhood or to the history. And the black color in that setting is so stark that it would be greatly enhanced if it was a little more in the dark brown, a little light.
Exactly, so that it.
Oh yeah, like one of the other examples they showed on on Bedford, right?
And I had to ask a dozen times to get a straight answer, which is that it's a design idea.
Yeah, that's all he came up with. That's all he had.
Are there other things that we want to?
Is this new business?
I'll put in why we think a bad decision was made. And, we asked for reconsideration.
I think if Susan...
We new business yet or no?
No.
Okay.
So before
if Susan and Anita were here,
they
would have a lot to say about that rear facade. So huge windows on the ground floor.
Would you elevate? Then I'd like to know if she has any comments.
Sure.
And what?
Oh, she's not on anymore. Oh no, she's promoted. Dina.
Yes. Hi. Sorry, I was trying to unmute.
Okay.
Can you help enlighten us any, or make a comment, or do you have any?
I agree with your surprise that a lot of the primary facade work was approved at staff level. I'm quite surprised that they approved the 1920s photograph as historic precedent when it's clearly a row house from the mid 1800s. And, you know, we can debate the merits of whether the 1920s facade should be what it's restored to, but that should be something that the community board gets to comment on and that the commissioners should then speak to, as far as I can tell.
And it would also seem to align with that, the fact that it's being restored to its original purpose.
Right, exactly. There's that kind of conflict of restoring something to an intermediary phase, but a different use than that phase was for, perhaps. And again, all of these things, you know, one can maybe come to the conclusion that it would be okay. I'm not saying either way, but it should be something that you all and that then the LPC commissioners should be able to consider.
Exactly. We're saying as much the fact that it didn't come before us as
yeah, exactly. So I agree with that, and that it's odd that it did.
We want to approve it.
So Chanel, are we making an emphasis in our list of issues that the lighting is always so important on the street facade? We didn't get a chance to talk about that at all.
Not at all.
And the woman who spoke at the end brought it up. I had added that about as part of the rear thing, so I'll put it both in the front and the rear.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
But and this comes before us all the time. We spend some trouble about the appropriateness of a lighting fixture. There is some enormous stake at the thing, and it's up to us to call them on it. It comes down to the three things that I have. I'm happy to hear others. Ground floor and front facade and lighting, including the lighting, I should say. The era of the restoration, that should be first, actually. Let me just rearrange this, please. And in the rear, the structural framing, covering, and the lights. It seemed to me that the structure was justified. If we approve the windows, we have to have them not make the building fall down. I'm not sure why other houses don't require that, but seems to be the case there. Is there more to say about this? To use the seeing nothing, we'll move on. I just want to talk about the next meeting. There'll be probably an extra meeting to deal with the question of the Lapio Center.
Deal with what?
There seems to be a total lack of a large lack of information about what the case is. What Susan has proposed is that we have the first audit on the subject of demolition.
So are we talking about the Tony Doppolito Center?
Yes.
Okay, it was not clear.
The question is, are they proposing demolition, or from that meeting that took place? Were you at the meeting, Valerie?
Yes. So they did. Yes. So they did say that they did demolish Tony Doppolito is what came up, and from the resolution that was passed at the July full board by the board, it reads from people high enough at the parks, it reads as though we have accepted demolition based on that resolution. So I'm glad that you're bringing this up. I wanted to bring up that I think that this committee should have either a presentation from Village Preservation about the historic significance of this building, that it is a contributing building, and the fact that the Greenwich Village Historic District Extension 2 was created to include this building, and whether or not it gets to the same result of it end up being demolished. I think it's important for this committee to make a statement about its historic significance.
And the importance of understanding what we'll do, it's strictly on the subject of demolishing. And there's a lot to say about that. But we want to be clear that we're not dealing with purpose or how it's done, that sort of thing. The other thing is the unclarity from the parks. And we would like to either have a person from the parks or a clear statement about it so that we're dealing from reality instead of somewhat imagined things. Further, it kept getting referred to as a landmark building, which is a really confusing term. It is a contributing building in the landmark district, and it's not an individual landmark. That doesn't affect our view of what should or shouldn't happen, but we'll be very clear about that.
I have a report that it was achieved landmark status in 2010 and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2013. Has somebody proved that it's not on the register?
No, from the Preservation Commission, it's not an individual landmark, is it?
If you're on the National Register of Historic Places since 2013.
Oh, well, that's the register. That's different.
Oh, than an individual city, New York City landmark, right?
Yeah, individual landmark means from
Yep.
the city, and I'm sure it's not, unless I'm.
No,
I understand.
Could I speak for a moment, please?
Yeah.
Designating the Dapolito Center was my idea. Began in a meeting. There were 5 or 6 of us, including Andrew Berman, who were establishing the boundaries of the South Village Historic District. And I suggested including Dapolito and the Hudson Park Library, which everybody agreed to. However, the South Village District became the Greenwich Village Historic District Extension 2, which both the Dapolito Center and the Hudson Park Library are part of. So that's a little bit of history that I participated in.
Aren't we glad to have you here?
Yeah, thanks, Albert.
Thank you.
Chanel, you've got.
Eyewitness testimony, if ever there was any.
Thank you for that, Albert. Chanel, you've got Carter Booth with his hand raised, and Dina also has her hand raised again.
I just want to ask. I've got my list, but we'll come to that. Dana, I think that probably you all will want to send out a notice about this meeting that we're doing. Could you
I'm here.
Oh, you're there. That you might want to send a notice and just to in it be clear what we're dealing with, which is a question of demolition.
Yes, I'm happy. Village Preservation is happy to promote your meeting about it, and also happy to present, whether myself or Andrew Berman, I'm sure, will want to attend if he's able to on that date. We've been already sending out tons of information to the public about our very deep concerns about the proposal to demolish the building, and definitely want to be involved in any way we can. And I wanted to add, well, first of all, Albert, that is so cool that you were involved in that. I didn't realize that. And just to add to the hopefully clearing up the confusion about the building's designation, it's listed within the National Register of Historic Places South Village Historic District. So it's not an individual landmark in either listing, but it's within historic districts locally, statewide, and nationally. But yes, have you all determined which date this meeting is going to be, or is that what you're discussing now?
It might be the usual month. We have the Thursday Monday pattern, and normally something like this would be on the Monday.
Okay.
But I'll try to pin that, since there's so much involved. We'll try to pin that down in the next week, certainly.
Great. Yeah, just let me know, and anything Village Preservation can do to support the discussion, we're happy to.
Thank you. Okay, whom do you have, Carter? Thank you, Dean. Is Carter?
Hi, Chanel. Yeah,
Hi.
I'm here. Sorry, I'm outside walking around. I was just listening to the meeting. Yeah, you know, the confusion that was generated is that there's somehow a difference if there's an individual landmark versus a contributing building in a landmarks district. And during the joint meeting that the board had, I noted that both are treated the same for purposes of the landmarks regulations and the review. And the issue was people are trying to use it to actually diminish the status of the Dapolito Center by making that distinction when then that is not in fact the case. And I think that's important because even in hearing the language that you're using, I'm sensing that people are using that distinction to diminish its status as a contributing building when in fact the landmark regulations very clearly state that they are the same. And I think that the purpose of the meeting should be to, for us in an unsolicited fashion, state that if the committee and the board were to reach the conclusion that this building continues to be a contributing building within the landmark district, and there are no changes that would undermine that, because I think that there's a lack of clarity from many people that somehow you can just take knock a building down. And somehow I think that our resolution on this matter confuses the issue because it's talking about interior uses, right? Not the building itself.
One that's been passed already.
Yeah.
What has been passed already? That's right. And I think that we need to just create clarity. I mean, in fact, I was astonished, during the full board meeting. I know that you weren't present, Chanel, but we don't even reference in any of the board's materials that the Parks Department said that their current plans are to demolish the building, and it was mentioned multiple times. And that's very concerning because this was done and the board didn't respond to this from your committee, and nor was your committee included on that. And so I think it's very important to just state that, the bathhouses, and I think Village Preservation has some really nice write-ups from in the last week or two, but also in the past, that the importance of the bathhouses and its interconnectedness to our community and to the South Village community and to the tenements, to the immigrant communities at that time. Somebody later in that meeting had mentioned redlining. One of the few areas that was actually redlined in our district is in fact the South Village. And that was because it was an immigrant community. And this is a part of, meeting the needs of that community is why public bathhouses were in fact built and created. And I think that all that really needs to be clarified in the board taking a position if the committee thinks that the building is contributing, even though there have been some changes to the building.
We'll come to all this. Our purpose is to first clarify the muddiness out of the previous resolution, and then to be clear about that no, it mustn't be demolished.
Well, yeah, I just want to make the point though, Chanel, there is no presentation before us to demolish the building. And what's important is that before the plans are created to do so, that the board's already taken a position on this ahead of time.
The purpose of this is to be absolutely clear.
Yes.
And Parks is not going to give us the answer for this meeting, whether they intend to demolish it. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Also, Chanel, as part of that searching for clarity, perhaps if there's somebody on this call that can affirm whether the city has produced an engineering report that clearly shows why they think it cannot be repaired, cannot be salvaged, cannot be restored. I don't know of any. Do you?
A good question to ask.
Okay, that's part of what we want to research before the meeting. Did somebody else want to speak, Valerie?
I don't think so, but I would just say that from the public that attended the July full board meeting, for anyone that wasn't there, it was very confusing because people on the board were didn't understand why people were coming to testify about Doppolito and the demolition. And it was then said that the resolution that we passed had nothing to do with the demolition or that the resolution had nothing to do with Tony Doppolito, but it was mentioned 13 times. So I think this is also important for just giving the public a place to talk specifically about the demolition, since that was kind of pushed off both at the Parks joint meeting and then at full board.
Well, and it's clear that as I said at the very beginning, the purpose of this meeting is to understand as much as possible and to come up with either a resolution or report, whichever is best, that deals with the question of demolition. Okay, everything will go out in due course. I'd like to get all this finished by the 1st of the month, so we can put it on. We can do it since it's going to be a separate meeting. We can put it on the agenda list of the calendar as the agenda for this meeting, and begin to perk up interest in it, more interest, perhaps too much interest by the time the meeting's over. Anything else that needs knowing or discussed? Okay. Thank you all. We'll be adjourned, and there'll be plenty of notice about what we're doing about this ahead of time. And thank you, Dana, for the help.
Sure. Thanks.
Right.
Thank you all.
Thanks all.
Thanks.
See you
Bye.
next month.
Okay.